Okay, one final time. We've got a brand new project. My name's Alckemy, by the way. If you haven't seen the other videos that I put up, good news for you is that this is the final video in here of that I'm going to be covering drum design, to where we'll be talking about hi-hats and percussion. It's also the funnest and easiest. With that being said, if you haven't seen the other videos, go watch them. I cover kicks, claps, and snares. I did not cover rim shots, but you can just do white noise with a bandpass. There you go. Um, with that being said, maybe I can include that within this video as well after we get through the other stuff. We're going to dive into how to get some pretty hard-hitting drums, or at least as much as this box can handle, and do some cool stuff. So we have a brand new project, and this is what this looks like. The first thing that we want to do is function, overdrive, turn that to about mid, and then we want to turn all of the tracks up, kind of like so. That one too. All of these up. All of these up. Yay. Okay. Now that we have that, there's a couple of different things that we can do. One is we can go into the amp here, and the number one thing that we do want to probably do on this, so we're going to do that. We're going to turn the volume up. We're just going to set a really short decay time. With this, now that we have this, you are kind of like off to the races, because all you have to do from here is pretty much two steps. The first one that we're going to do is we're going to add a pitch bend. So we're going to go to mod, we're going to add an exponential line, set this to retrigger, turn this up a little bit, turn the BPM to like 64, and turn this up all the way. We're going to go to master pitch on this, or pitch all, hit yes. And so now this is going to start to sound a little bit like a snare. Pew pew. We're going to turn this down just a little bit, meaning a lower pitch. And this is pretty much what we need in order to get started. Now, I could go in here and, do design to all this stuff, but one of the coolest features that's on every Digi box, or yeah, every Electron box rather, every tact, tone, whatever, is you hold synth and you hit yes. And now within this, what we just did was randomize all these parameters. And we can do this as many times as we want to where it's going to completely randomize the page. And we can do that on this as well. And so now whenever I hit this, we could have saved all of those sounds without having to do anything else. And that's why I wanted to save this for last, because when it comes into percussion and stuff, having something that's, really fast, kind of like this, is really all we need in order to get this to do something cool. And because of that, we can, get in here and do some actual design, or what I would prefer is get close. So then we can come down here and switch this up, and this is going to help us make a more natural sound by hitting function yes and randomizing all of the operators here. Let me turn this pitch down just a little bit, go back to the synth. And then we can kind of just play in between this. That one's great. So now we can add a little bit of reverb if we want, right? We can add some chorus. We can add any of this other stuff, obviously, that we have. But for the most part, we don't really need to do anything else. The one thing that I will say is, let's start on this, on track 2, is if you want white noise, there's a couple of things that you can do. You can achieve it through FM, but I actually think that the easiest way to go about it, synth, either grab FM drone or wave tone. Let's grab wave or FM drum, because I haven't really used that on this yet, except for the claps, I think. But all we need to do is come into this, turn this off for now, and just grab the noise level and play with the amp. Maybe add some chorus. If you want to change this into a shaker, we just add some We can also add in a bandpass here. And there you go. You got a shaker. Cool. So let's save those sounds very quickly. I'm going to save that one. We're just going to go yes. And I'm going to go whatever. Energetic noun. Cool. Save that as percussion. Go save. Nice. It's actually a dope shaker. I really like that. So we're going to go save. Yes. Gloomy wielder. I like it. Something between percussion and a hi-hat. I don't think that there's actually a shaker thing on here, if I'm not mistaken. No. So we'll go yes. And that's a pretty sick shaker. And we made something pretty much out of that. Now, one thing that I will teach you is how to modify this into a rim shot, because I didn't cover that. And what we want to do is go to the effects, turn all this stuff off for now, and go back into the amp. There we go. And we need to go back to the filter here and set this around. I wish that this actually had a filter or an actual frequency amount as opposed to some kind of value, because I have no idea what this value is and I'm going to kind of guess, but we want to kind of float somewhere around the middle. And there you go. That's your rim shot. And anything else that you add on top of this, so you can do a transient if you want. We can also add this back in if we want to do some FM. Doesn't really matter. All this stuff is optional, so. Yeah, not really my favorite anyways. FM drum in general is, I really think needs an overhaul. I think it's just like barely okay, personally. But we can try to add this or change this into ring mod instead, and also the noise ring mod, see what that sounds like. But yeah, kind of coming into this and changing some of the stuff on here. Doesn't really give us that much texture because we have such a short bandpass over this. But now that we have that, we can go and add in our overdrive. And something else that we can do on here, cool, we don't have a destination, is we're just going to set that exponential rhythm on here. And I'm very gently going to add in just a little bit of resonance over this into the exponential rhythm here. I'm going to set this to trigger mode. Set this here. Make sure that this is pretty fast. And then we can kind of just mess with this a little bit and see if we can get some other timbres out of this. Really like that, actually. Sick. And so we can go into this. It's pretty quiet, unfortunately. And for whatever reason, the bandpass, like once you put a bandpass on something, it's really hard to bring it back. That's where maybe the compressor could come into play if you're just doing like one instance of compression. But like I said, I tend to avoid it because like this is just one sound. And most of the time within the digitone, if I'm going to make something, I want it to be, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going to dedicate the compressor to a single sound, long story short. Something we can try though is we can try a unison amount here. And we can turn that on, see what that does. I don't like that. It accentuates the tone. Okay, so as a final thing, we can kind of get into the same tricks that I was talking about from before, where we can go function, setup, track layering, layer this to track 2. And on this, we just need some noise. Yes. So we can go here, go to the noise level, turn this down. Go to the amp. And instead of doing the offset thing, which I've shown you from before, where you can use the LFO to change the phase and make it do that, we can actually just turn this down a little bit and apply just a little bit of attack on here. Kind of like that. That's a bit much. And that will kind of layer that with it. That sounds kind of nice. Just seeing if I can add some other stuff into this and make it a little bit more interesting. That actually sounds kind of nice. But totally not necessary. So yeah, that's pretty much how we can make rim shots, which is another important piece of percussion, but that falls more in line with snares and stuff than anything else. You can change the noise type, I suppose. So and the transient as well, but as you can tell, I kind of prefer it without it, to be honest. And I also like the grain thing to be like super thick. There we go. We can go save. Save that. Engineer lava. Okay. I love that the auto namer thing on here, but we can go percussion, snare, and then we have a rim shot. Yeah, so thanks everybody. This is pretty much how you make drums inside of the Digi Diggy Doggy Dowgy Dangy Kangy Tome 2 from the best of my knowledge anyways. And if you all have tricks and stuff on how you like to make stuff, I would love to know as well, but this seems to be the most that I'm currently able to pull out of it. And if Electron is watching this, a dedicated transient shaper would be awesome. Adding a noise engine to, or like a noise waveform, that's kind of why I want to rework on this stuff anyways. Just because this is cool or whatever, but it doesn't, like, it makes it really difficult to make drums. It also makes it extremely difficult to make claps. Oh my gosh. It is such a pain in the butt to make claps on this thing, which is the first video that you'll see if you haven't already. But yeah, anyways, if you like my sounds, check them out at alckemy.com. Maybe I'll put out a digitone 2-pack or something with these sounds baked in case if you don't want to make them yourself. Probably make it super cheap, like 10 bucks for however many sounds I've made, which I don't remember. But yeah, if that seems interesting to you, then let me know. Otherwise, you can check out my other samples again at alckemy.com or book a lesson with me. I would actually love to do a lesson with somebody over the digitone 2 and show you everything that I know. That could be pretty sick. But anyways, I digress. Have a great rest of your evening, everybody. I will catch you in the next one.